I'll tell you something strange. The morning I found out my wife was cheating, I woke up to the smell of burnt toast. Not metaphorical burnt toast, mind you, actual. Charred slices of Wonder Bread smoking up the kitchen because she'd forgotten them in the toaster again. That's how it started, a crispy little omen of the mess I was about to step into. I'm no poet, but if I were, I'd say it was the universe's way of winking at me, hey, pal, your life's about to get a little extra toasty. I'm an American guy, built like a linebacker who's softened up just enough to be approachable, with a jawline that says I could have been a movie star if I didn't love beer so much. I've got a decent job, a pickup truck with a dented fender from a deer that didn't make it, and a house that's paid off because I'm too stubborn to let the bank own me. My wife, Lissawell, she's the kind of woman who can charm a rattlesnake into a necktie. Blonde, sharp-eyed, with a laugh that could sell toothpaste. We've been married 12 years, and I thought we were solid. Turns out, solid's just what you call concrete before it cracks. That morning, I shuffled into the kitchen, scratching my stubble, and saw her fumbling with the toaster, swearing under her breath. She looked flustered, but not the usual, I'm late for yoga flustered. This was different, nervous, twitchy, like a raccoon caught in the garbage can. I didn't think much of it then. I just poured my coffee, black as my sense of humor, and figured she'd had a rough night. Maybe she'd been up late texting her sister about some drama. Sisters, right? Always a crisis. It wasn't until I grabbed her phone off the counter innocent as a kid reaching for a cookie that the whole damn cookie jar tipped over. She'd left it unlocked, which was her first mistake. Her second was thinking I wouldn't notice the little heart eyes emoji next to a name that wasn't mine. Jake. Jake with the slicked back hair and the gym membership he actually uses. Jake, who I'd met at her company picnic last summer, the guy who shook my hand too hard and smirked like he knew something I didn't. Turns out, he did. I didn't flip the table or smash the phone. I'm not that guy. I just stood there, sipping my coffee, letting the bitterness of both sink in. She was still muttering about the toast, oblivious, while I scrolled through a thread that read like a bad rom-com script. Miss you already. Last night was wild. Can't wait to see you again. Wild, huh? The wildest thing we'd done lately was argue over whether to repaint the garage. I won, by the way, Hunter Green, because I've got taste. Here's the kicker. I wasn't even mad. Not yet. I was too busy marveling at the sheer balls of it. 12 years, and she picks Jake? The guy's got the personality of a protein shake bland, overpriced, and only appealing if you're desperate. I set the phone down, finished my coffee, and decided right then I wasn't going to play the wounded puppy. I'm a man, not a doormat. I've wrestled hogs bigger than Jake in my uncle's barn, and I'd be damned if I let this dent my shine. So I kissed her on the forehead. Ironic, sure, but I've got a flair for the dramatic and headed to work. Let her figure out why the toast wasn't the only thing smoldering. That night, I'd start planning. Not revenge, mind you. Revenge is for suckers who think life's a movie. No, I was plotting something better. My exit, stage left, with all the swagger of a guy who knows the best is still ahead. But first, I had to figure out how deep this rabbit hole went. I wasn't done sniffing around yet. By the time I got home from work, I'd decided to turn detective. Not the trench coat and fedora kind, more like the sit in my truck with a thermos of coffee and a bag of beef jerky kind. I told Lisa I had a late shift, which wasn't a lie if you count staking out your own marriage as overtime. She nodded, distracted, already tapping away at her phone, probably telling Jake the coast was clear. I didn't stick around to watch her primp. I've got pride, not a front row seat to my own cuckolding. I parked down the street, headlights off, like some suburban James Bond. My truck's got a growl to it, but I know how to keep it quiet when I need to. Sure enough, an hour later, Jake's stupid little Mazda rolled up, all shiny and begging for a key scratch. I didn't touch attempting, but I'm not petty. I just watched him strut to my front door, carrying a bottle of cheap wine like he was Casanova on a budget. Lisa let him in, and I caught a glimpse of her in that red dress I'd bought her for our anniversary. Irony's a hell of a drug. I could have stormed in, made a scene, but where's the fun in that? Instead, I chewed my jerky and let my brain do the heavy lifting. 12 years, and she's slumming it with a guy who probably thinks foreplay is a golf term. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost, Mostly, I was sizing up my next move. See, I'm not the type to wallow. I've got a backbone forged in the fires of a Midwestern upbringing, think cornfields, bar fights, and a dad who'd tan your hide if you cried over spilt milk. This wasn't breaking me, it was waking me up. I drove off before they got too cozy. Didn't need the mental image I've got a strong stomach, but I'm not a masochist. Ended up at Rudy's, the dive bar where the stools creak and the bartender knows your name. Ordered a ribeye, rare, because I deserved to treat myself while my wife's playing house with a discount Don Juan. The steak was bloody and perfect, and as I cut into it, I started laughing. Not loud, just a low chuckle that made the guy next to me scoot his beer a little farther away. I wasn't losing it, I was finding it. My freedom, my edge, my appetite for something better. That's when I decided, I'm not confronting her yet. Let her dig her hole a little deeper. I've got time, and I've got options. Maybe I'd sell the house, buy a boat, sail off to somewhere with palm trees and women who don't mistake me for furniture. Or maybe I'd just wait, watch, and let her think she's winning. Either way, I was done being the guy who fixes the toaster while she's sparking up someone else's fuse. The next morning, I'd start dropping hint-subtle ones just to see her squirm. But that night, mid-bite, my phone buzzed. It was her, texting me, "Where are you? Oh, honey, you're about to find out I'm a lot farther gone than you think." I woke up the next morning on the couch, still in my work boots, with a crick in my neck and a grin on my face. Lisa was already gone off to her job. Or maybe to Jake's, who knows? I didn't care. The house smelled like her perfume and his cheap wine, a combo that'd make a skunk gag. But I wasn't fazed. I'd slept like a king, dreaming of open highways and a life where I didn't have to share my steak. That text from her last night, "Where are you?" was still unanswered, sitting there like a little grenade I'd lob back when the time was right. For now, I was playing chess, and she didn't even know she was on the board. I brewed some coffee, strong enough to wake a coma patient, and noticed a stain on the counter. Her mug, half drunk, with a lipstick smudge that wasn't her usual shade. Coral, not crimson. Jake's influence, probably guy like that, would date a woman who changes her lipstick for him. I wiped it up with my sleeve, not out of spite, but because I'm not living in her mess anymore. Then I got to work. Not my day job me new project, Operation Make Her Sweat. First move was subtle, like a sniper lining up a shot. I rearranged the fridge magnets, those tacky ones we got from Vegas and Niagara Falls Sinto, a little hard with a crack down the middle. She'd notice, maybe not right away, but it'd itch at her. Then I left my wedding ring on the kitchen table, right next to her car keys. Not tossed, not hidden, just sitting there, casual as a coaster. I didn't need it anymore, and I wasn't about to beg her to care. I've got hands that can fix a carburetor or grill a burger. They don't need a band of gold to prove their worth. She came home around 6, looking like she'd run a marathon in heels. I was on the couch, flipping through a hunting magazine, sipping a beer. She didn't say much, just muttered something about traffic and disappeared upstairs. I waited. 5 minutes later, she came back down, keys in hand, and froze when she saw the ring. I didn't look up, just turned the Pajolk season's coming, and I'm thinking Montana this year. She cleared her throat, that nervous little tick she gets when she's caught off guard. I let the silence hang, thick as fog, until she finally scurried off to the kitchen, heard her fumbling with the coffee pot, probably wondering if I'd seen the texts, the dress, the whole damn circus. I hadn't said a word, and that was the beauty of it. Me silence was louder than any shouting match. She'd figure it out eventually, or she wouldn't. Either way, I was already 3 steps ahead, plotting my next play. That night, I grilled myself a burger juicy, medium rare, with a slice of cheddar that'd make a cow proud. Ate it on the porch, under the stars, while she stayed inside, probably texting Jake about how weird I was acting. Weird? Nah, sweetheart, I'm just waking up. I started thinking about the house, technically, but I'd built half of it with my own hands. Could sell it, split the cash, let her figure out how to pay for Jake's protein powder. Or I could keep it, turn it into a bachelor pad with a hot tub and a dartboard. Options, man. I've got 'em in spades. Then my phone buzzed again. Another text from her. "We need to talk." "Oh, we will, Lisa. We will. But on my terms, not hers. I took a long pull of my beer, leaned back in the chair, and watched a moth dance around the porch light. Tomorrow, I'd up the ante, maybe leave a moving company brochure on the counter, see how she likes that curveball. For now, I was content, a man with a plan and a full stomach, waiting for the moment she'd realize the game was already over. She just didn't know she'd lost yet. Morning hit me like a freight train, but I was ready for it. Sunlight sliced through the blinds, painting stripes on the living room floor where I'd crashed again. Couch life was growing on me less baggage, more freedom, like I was already halfway out the door. I stretched, cracked my knuckles, and got to work on the day's masterpiece. Found a moving company brochure in the junk drawsome outfit called Pack Savvy Solutions, with a cheesy tagline about moving on, hassle-free. Perfect. I left it on the counter, dog-eared and circled in red pen around the quick quotes section. Subtle? Sure, if you think a sledgehammer's subtle when it's aimed at your illusions. Lisa was still upstairs, probably sleeping off whatever late-night nonsense she'd been up to. I didn't check. I'd stopped caring about her. Orbit mine was spinning just fine. I fried some bacon, let the smell fill the house, and poured my coffee into a mug that said, "World's okayest husband." Irony's my wingman now. By the time she shuffled down, I was out back, tinkering with the lawnmower. It didn't need fixing, but I like the sound of metal on metal. It drowns out the static in my head. She stepped onto the porch, barefoot, hair a mess, holding the brochure like it was a live grenade. I caught her out of the corner of my eye, pretending to tighten a bolt. She didn't say anything at first, just stood there, shifting her weight like a kid caught sneaking cookies. I let her stew. Finally, she coughed out a weak, "What's this?" I wiped my hands on a rag, slow and deliberate, then turned to face her, gave her a grin half charm, half Sharkan, said nothing. Let her fill in the blanks. She didn't like that. Her face went from pale to pink, and she disappeared back inside, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the hinges. Game on. I finished my coffee, savoring the chaos I'd sown with a single piece of paper. She'd be texting Jake now, no doubt, spinning some tale about how I'd lost my mind. Fine by Mellet, her think I'm the wild card. I've got aces up my sleeve she hasn't even dreamed of. Around noon, I headed to the hardware store, picked up some paint swatches for the garage. Hunter green's still my pick, but I grabbed a few others: blues, greys, colors that scream new start. Left them fanned out on the table when I got back, right next to the ring she still hadn't touched. She avoided me all afternoon, flitting around the house like a ghost with a guilty conscience. I didn't push. I mowed the lawn, loud and proud, shirt off because I've still got it little softer around the edges, maybe, but the frame's solid. Neighbors waved. I waved back. Life goes on, and I'm not the one hiding. By dinner, she'd retreated to the bedroom, door shut. I cooked myself a pork chop, seared it crisp, and ate it with a side of bourbon. No point in skimping on the good stuff now. Then came the bombshell. I was washing my plate when my phone lit up, not her, this time, but my buddy Tom. He's the kind of guy who knows everyone's dirt, not because he snoops, but because people can't shut up around him. Text read, "Heads up, man. Saw Lisa at Rudy's with that slick-haired prick. Looked cozy. Rudy's. My spot. The ball's on her, taking Jake to my bar, like she's planting a flag on my turf. I didn't reply right away, just leaned against the counter, letting it sink in. Cozy, huh? That's a word for it. I could picture it. Her in that red dress. Him with his fake tan and faker charm, sipping drinks I'd paid for one way or another. I didn't storm out or smash anything. I'm not wired for tantrums. Instead, I poured another bourbon, neat, and sat on the porch again. The night was cool, stars sharp, and I started laughing quiet at first, then louder, until it echoed off the garage. Not because it was funny, but because it was clear. She wasn't just cheating, she was rewriting the story, making me the footnote. Well, screw that. I'm the damn author here. Tomorrow, I'd make my move something big, something she couldn't ignore. But tonight, I'd sleep like a man who knows the ending's his to write. Upstairs, I heard her pacing, probably wondering why I wasn't raging. She'd find out soon enough. I woke up with the kind of clarity you only get after a good bourbon and a better laugh. The sun was barely up, but I was already moving boots on, coffee brewing, brain firing on all cylinders. Lisa was still holed up in the bedroom, probably clutching her phone like a lifeline to Jake. Let her cling. I had bigger fish to fry, and I wasn't talking about the trout I'd catch once I ditched this soap opera for a lake somewhere. Today was the day I'd stop playing defense and start swinging. First thing, I grabbed my keys and headed to the garage. My truck, that beat-up, beautiful beast, wasn't just a ride, it was a statement. I popped the hood, checked the oil, and gave the dented fender a pat. "You and me, buddy," I muttered. "We've got miles to go." Then I drove it right up to the front porch, parked it crooked, and left the engine idling just long enough to make the windows rattle. She'd hear it. She'd wonder, "Good." Back inside, I didn't sneak around. I stomp boots aren't quiet, and I wasn't trying to be. Found a duffel bag in the hall closet, the one we'd used for that camping trip where she complained about mosquitoes the whole time. Started packing. Not everything, just the essentials. Jeans, flannels, my favorite hunting knife with the stag handle. No rush, no fuss, just a man taking what's his and leaving the rest. The ring was still on the table, untouched, gathering dust like a relic from a war I'd already won. I left it there. She came downstairs as I zipped the bag, hair tangled, eyes wide. She looked like she'd seen a ghost, and maybe she had her own reflection in the mess she'd made. I didn't stop, just slung the duffel over my shoulder and grabbed my thermos. She opened her mouth, then closed it, fish-like, floundering for words. I didn't give her the chance to find them. "Got a job out of town," I said, casual as if I were picking up milk. "Might be a while. Not a liver's, always work if you look for it, and I'd find some." Her face crumpled, but I was already halfway to the door. The truck roared to life as I peeled out, gravel spitting like shrapnel. I didn't look back, not my style. Drove straight to Rudy's, because if she was going to parade Jake around my bar, I'd reclaim it first. Walked in, ordered a beer, and tipped the bartender double. "Heard my wife was in here last night," I said, loud enough for the regulars to perk up. "Hope she tipped you better than her taste in company." That got a laugh, and I grinned, all teeth. Word would spread she'd hate that. Small towns talk, and I'm the guy they'd root for. Tom showed up an hour later, sliding onto the stool next to me. "You okay, man?" he asked, eyeing the duffel at my feet. I shrugged, took a swig. "Better than okay. I'm free." He nodded. Didn't pry good friend, that Tom. Told me Jake's Mazda was parked at her office all morning, like he was staking a claim. I snorted. Let him plant his flag. I'd already pulled mine up and moved the whole damn battlefield. By noon, I'd made a cal old buddy with a cabin up north owed me a favor. "Come crash," he said. "Bring beer, done and done." I hit the road, windows down, radio blasting some outlaw country about whiskey and women who don't stick around. Felt right. The highway stretched out, endless and open, and I could breathe again. No more burnt toast, no more lipstick, stains, just me, my truck, and a horizon that didn't care about my past. My phone buzzed as I crossed the county line. "Lisa, finally. Where are you going?" I didn't answer, not yet. Let her sweat it out. Let her picture me gone for good. Maybe I was. Maybe I'd sell the house from afar, send her a postcard from some beach with a "wish you weren't here" scrawl. Or maybe I'd come back, just long enough to watch her squirm when I walked in with a tan and a grin she'd never earned. Either way, I was driving into something new, and the rearview mirror was empty. Then Tom texted, "She's at Rudy's again," crying. Oh, this was going to be good. I hit the cabin by dusk, the kind of place that smells like pine, and regret the good kind of regret, the kind that comes from living hard and not apologizing for it. My buddy Rick was there, feet up on a porch rail, nursing a beer and a smirk. "You look like a man who's either running from something or toward it," he said, tossing me a cold one. I caught it, popped the cap with my knife, and grinned. "Both, brother, both." The lake glittered beyond the trees, calm as a mirror, and I felt my shoulders loosen for the first time in months. No Lisa, no Jake, just me, and the kind of quiet that doesn't judge. Rick didn't ask much, just handed me a fishing rod and pointed me to the dock. I spent the evening casting lines, sipping beer, and letting the water lap away the last of the noise in my head. Didn't catch much, but I wasn't there for the fish. I was there for the space, the chance to think without her perfume clogging my lungs. By nightfall, we were around a fire pit, swapping stories about the dumb shit we'd done in our 20s. Mine were better. Rick never wrestled a hog, and I've got the scars to prove it. He laughed, called me a bastard, and we clinked bottles. Felt like home, the kind I'd forgotten I could have. My phone stayed quiet most of the night, which was fine by me. Then Tom's text from earlier. She's at Rudy's again. Crying. Started itching at me. Crying, huh? Probably playing the damsel for Jake. Or maybe the bartender, hoping someone'd buy her a drink and a sob story. I could see it. Her in that red dress, mascara streaking, spinning some tale about how I'd abandoned her. Abandoned. Funny word for a guy who'd stuck around through 12 years of her half-baked excuses and burnt toast. I didn't text back. Let her stew in her own soup. I wasn't the chef anymore. Next morning, I woke to Rick frying eggs over the fire, the sizzle waking me better than any alarm. We ate in silence, the good kind, and I started planning. Not revenge, still too petty, but a takedown, slow and sweet, like a deer hunt where the buck doesn't see the arrow coming. I called my lawyer buddy, Mike, from the porch. "What's it take to sell a house quick?" I asked. He chuckled, didn't even blink. "You serious?" As a heart attack. He promised to dig into divorce laws, property splits, the works. I didn't mention Lisa yet, but he'd figure it out. Mike's sharp like that. By afternoon, I'd decided I'd sell the place, split the cash, and let her scramble for what's left. She could have Jake and his Mazda. I'd take the equity and a clean slate. I was mid-cast on the dock, picturing her face when the "for sale" sign went up, when my phone buzzed again. "Lisa, please come home. We need to talk." Same old song, different day. I tossed the phone into the tackle box and reeled in a line. Nothing biting yet, but I've got patience hunting taught me that. She'd wait. Then Tom called. Didn't text called, which meant business. I answered, leaning against a pine, the lake breeze cooling my neck. "You're not going to believe this," he said, voice low like he was spilling state secrets. "Jake dumped her, right there at Rudy's, in front of everybody. She's a mess, sobbing, yelling, the works." I froze, rod in hand, then started laughing so hard I nearly dropped it in the water. Dumped her? After all that? The guy couldn't even stick around long enough to enjoy the wreckage. Priceless. I hung up, still chuckling, and cracked another beer. Calm as a funny bitch doesn't need my help to land a punch. Lisa, alone at Rudy's, crying into her wine while Jake peeled out in his Mazda. Couldn't write it better if I tried. I'd head back soon not to save her, but to watch the show. Maybe drop by the bar, tip the bartender, and let her see me standing tall while she crumbled. The fish weren't biting, but the day was young, and I had a front row seat to the best damn twist yet. Wonder what she'd say when she saw me walk in. I rolled back into town 2 days later, truck rumbling like a war drum, the cabin's pine scent still clinging to my flannel. Didn't rush stopped for a burger at some roadside joint, took the long route past the cornfields just to feel the wind whip through the cab. No point in hurrying to a funeral you've already RSVP'd to. Lisa's meltdown at Rudy's was the talk of Tom's last call, and I could practically taste the chaos waiting for me. Not her tears, mind you. I was done sipping that brew, but the sweet, sharp tang of a reckoning I didn't even have to swing for. Pulled up to the house first, just to grab a few more things. Place looked the same, lawn still buzzed from my last mow, garage still hunter green, but it felt like a museum now, full of exhibits from a life I'd outgrown. The duffel was still packed, but I snagged my old leather jacket from the closet and a bottle of bourbon from the shelf. Left the moving brochure on the counter, now joined by those paint swatches and a note I scribbled on a napkin. "Call Mike if you need a lawyer. He's good." Didn't sign it, didn't need to. She'd know. Then I hit Rudy's. Walked in like I owned the joint, which, in spirit, I damn near did. The regulars nodded, a few smirked, and the bartender slid me a beer before I even sat down. "Heard you've been missed," he said, wiping a glass with a grin. "Not by everybody." I shot back, tipping the bottle. Place was half full, the jukebox humming some twangy tune about heartbreak fitting, considering the gossip Tom had dished. Jake bailing on Lisa, right there on that sticky floor, while she wailed like a banshee. Could have sold tickets to that show. I settled in, boots on the rung of a stool, scanning the room. She wasn't there not yet, but the air buzzed with her ghost. Old Man Pete at the end of the bar leaned over, voice gravelly from too many camels. "Your missus made a scene, son. Threw a glass and everything." I raised an eyebrow, took a sip. Hope it wasn't my tab she was drinking on. That got a cackle out of him, and I let the story fill in the gaps. Jake cutting her loose, her losing it publicly, gloriously, messily. Couldn't have scripted a better fall. Halfway through my beer, the door swung open, and there she was. Lisa, red dress, wrinkled, eyes puffy, hair like she'd fought a tornado and lost. She froze when she saw me, like a deer in the headlights of my truck, and I just leaned back, casual as a cat in the sun. Didn't wave, didn't glare, just watched. She hesitated, then marched over, heels clicking like gunfire on the hardwood. Stopped a foot away, hands on hips, trying to muster some of that old fire. "You're back," she said, voice shaky but sharp. "Looks that way," I replied, slow and easy, taking another sip. Her lips twitched, like she wanted to scream or cry or both, but I didn't give her the runway. "Heard you had a rough night. Jake, not your knight in shining Mazda anymore." That hit her like a gut punch. Her face went from pink to white, and I swear I saw her knees wobble. Didn't laugh, though. Just watched her flounder, the queen of her own little chessboard, realizing the king had left the game. She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. "I didn't mean," she started, but I cut her off with a shrug. "Don't need the script, Lisa. Saw the previews already." Stood up then, grabbed my jacket, and tossed a 20 on the bar. "Keep the change," I told the bartender, then brushed past her, close enough to smell her perfume but far enough to make it clear I wasn't stopping. She grabbed my arm-weak grip, desperate, and I turned just for a second, meeting her eyes. "You're on your own, sweetheart. Figure it out." Walked out into the night, truck keys jangling, her staring after me like I'd stolen her last lifeline. Maybe I had. Climbed into the cab, fired it up, and peeled out, leaving Rudy Sand hair in the dust. Phone buzzed as I hit the highway. Mike, with a lead on a buyer for the house. Perfect timing. I'd sell it, split it, and let her drown in the half she'd get. Where to next? Cabin again, maybe, or somewhere new west, south, anywhere but here. She'd call again, I knew it, begging or cursing, and I'd let it ring. The road stretched out, dark and endless, and I cranked the radio. Whatever she'd say, I'd be too far gone to hear it. I didn't sleep much that night, just crashed at Tom's place, sprawled on his lumpy couch with a beer bottle still in hand when the sun peeked through his blinds. He didn't ask questions, just grunted something about coffee, and left me to it. Good man, Tom. Knows when to let a guy breathe. My phone was a Warzone 3, missed calls from Lisa, 2 texts, "Please, let's talk," and "You can't just leave like this, can't I? Watch me." I silenced it, downed the cold dregs of my beer, and got moving. Today was about tying up loose ends, not unraveling her knots. Met Mike at a diner off the interstate, the kind with greasy spoons and waitresses who call you Hon. He slid into the booth across from me, tie loose, grinning like a fox with a henhouse key. "Got a buyer," he said, no preamble. "Cash offer, quick close. They're flipping it, don't care about the drama." I nodded, sipping coffee that tasted like tar and Triumph. "How much?" He threw out a number decent, not a fortune, but enough to split clean and leave me with a fat stack for whatever came next. "Done?" I said. "Draw it up." He scribbled notes, asked about Lisa. "She know yet?" I shrugged. "She'll figure it out when the sign goes up." Mike laughed, a sharp bark that turned heads. "You're a cold bastard, you know that?" "Practical," I corrected, and we shook on it. By noon, the wheels were turning, house listed, papers prepped, my half of the equity already mentally spent on a boat, or a Harley, or maybe just a long, lazy road trip with no endpoint. Options, man. They taste better than revenge. Drove by the house one last time, just to see it before the for sale sign stabbed the lawn. Looked smaller somehow, like it had shrunk under the weight of her bullshit. Lisa's car was in the drive, curtains drawn, hiding, probably, or plotting her next move. Didn't matter. I didn't stop, just cruised past, slow enough to feel the finality but fast enough to keep the dust behind me. My duffel was in the truck, jacket too, and that bourbon bottle clinked against the seat like a promise. I was out. Tom texted later. Signs up. She's losing it called me, asking where you are. I grinned, steering onto the highway. Let her call Tom. Mike, the damn Pope if she wanted. I wasn't answering. Sun was setting now, painting the sky orange and pink, and I cranked the window down, letting the air hit me full force. Felt like a baptism, washing off 12 years of her fingerprints. Radio played some Springsteen Thunder Road, naturally, and I sang along. Off-key but loud, because who's going to judge me out here? Stopped at a gas station an hour out, filled the tank, grabbed a pack of jerky and a Coke. Guy at the counter nodded at my truck. Nice rig. Where you headed? Somewhere else, I said, and he chuckled like he got it. Maybe he did. Back in the cab, I checked my phone one last time before tossing it in the glove box. Another text from Lisa. I'm sorry. Please come back. Sorry's a cheap word when you've already cashed out. I didn't reply just, started the engine and pointed the nose west. The road unrolled like a ribbon. Dark now, stars popping out one by one. I could have turned back, played the hero, fixed what she broke. But why? I'm not a repairman for her mistakes. I'm a man with a full tank, a fat check coming, and a horizon that doesn't care about my baggage. Somewhere out there, a bar's waiting with a cold beer, and a woman who doesn't know my name are Lisa's. Maybe I'd find her tonight, maybe not. Didn't matter. The sunrise was coming, and I'd be driving right into it, eyes wide open, wondering what the hell she'd do when the moving trucks rolled in. I drove through the night, the kind of dark where the stars feel close enough to snag with a fishing line. Didn't stop much just once for gas and a piss break at some nowhere truck stop where the clerk barely looked up from his phone. My truck hummed steady, a loyal beast carrying me past state lines and old ghosts. By the time the sky started bleeding pink and gold, I was deep into nowhere, a stretch of desert road with nothing but sagebrush and the promise of something better. Lisa's texts were a memory, buried in the glove box with my phone, and I wasn't digging them out. That chapter was closed hardcover, no epilogue. Found a diner as the sun crested, a squat little place called Marge's, with a neon sign flickering like it was on its last legs. Pulled in, dust swirling around the tires, and stepped out into air that smelled like heat and freedom. Inside, the coffee was strong, the eggs were greasy, and the waitress, a tough old bird with a smoker's rasp, pulled me sugar, without a hint of irony. I liked her already. Ate slow, watching the horizon through the window, letting the last of the tension bleed out of me. This was It's Me line in the sand, drawn with tire tracks and a middle finger to the rear view. Mike called while I was on my second cup. House is sold, he said, voice crackling through the spotty signal. Closed this morning. Your cut's wired, check your bank. I grunted approval, thanked him, and hung up. Pulled up the app on my phone, first time I'd touched it since last night, and there it was. A number with enough zeros to make a man smile. Half the house, all mine, no strings. Lisa got hers too, I figured, but that wasn't my circus anymore. Let her and Jake or whoever's next figure out how to juggle it. Finished my breakfast, left a fat tip for Marge's raspy charm, and hit the road again. No plan, just instinct, steering toward a dot on the map called Red Mesa. Sounded like a place a man could disappear into, or reinvent himself if either worked. The truck 8 miles, radio fuzzing in and out, and I started thinking about what's next. A boat, maybe, like I'd half-joked about something small, sturdy, good for fishing and forgetting. Or a cabin of my own, not Rick's, with a porch and a view that didn't come with baggage. Hell, maybe I'd just keep driving till the tank ran dry and see where I landed. Midday, I stopped at a lookout, pointed rock cliffs stretching out like God's own canvas, sun blasting down hard and clean. Leaned against the truck, popped that bourbon bottle I'd snagged from the house, and took a long pull, toasted the air, the road, the man I was becoming. Lisa'd be back home by now, staring at an empty driveway, a sold sign, and a bank account she didn't earn. Maybe she'd cry. Maybe she'd curse. Me didn't care. She'd lost the plot, and I'd written myself a new one. A pickup rolled up beside me, an old guy with a beard like steel wool climbing out. Nodded at me, at the bottle. Celebrating or mourning? He asked, voice like gravel. I grinned, handed him the bourbon. Celebrating, I said. Wife's history, house is cash, road's mine. He took a swig, handed it back, and laughed a dry, knowing sound. "Good for you, son. Keep the wheels straight." Then he climbed back in and drove off, dust trailing like a salute. I finished the bottle, tossed it in the truck bed, and got behind the wheel. Red Mesa was close now, shimmering on the horizon like a mirage that might just be real. Didn't know what I'd find there, a bar, a fight, a woman with a laugh. I could chase Boot, I'd meet it head on, boots planted, no apologies. Lisa was a speck in the past, shrinking smaller every mile, and I was a man unbound, roaring into a sunrise that didn't owe me a damn thing. The engine growled, I shifted gears, and the road swallowed me whole exactly where I wanted to be.